Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our audience wherever in the world you may be. Welcome to another episode of SPAG Fin DLOG Season 2. Our podcast series brings together industry experts for engaging conversations that contribute to ongoing discussions within the field. My name is Avan Gupta, and today we are delving into the crucial topic of understanding digital media and public relations for pharma marketeers. In today's digital age, where information spreads rapidly and public perception is paramount, having a strong grasp of digital media and public relations strategy is essential for pharmaceutical marketers. To discuss the same, today we have with us Pawan Kulkarni, General Manager at JB Pharma, bringing more than 2 decades of experience spanning marketing, corporate strategy, new product development. With a unique background, transitioning from pharma sales to advertising to communication and back to pharma marketing, Pawan offers a diverse perspective. He is also a seasoned educator, having taught in Management Institute for 18 years, and a prolific author contributing fresh insights on marketing, creativity, and digital landscape to various newspapers. We are thrilled to have him with us to share his insights. Welcome, Pawan. It's our pleasure to have you with us, and I'm certain that today's discussion will provide valuable insights to budding pharma marketeers as well as the seasoned pharma marketeers to really help them navigate today's complex landscape with multiple stakeholders. So welcome to SP Different Dialogue Season 2.
Thank you, Aman. My pleasure to be on this podcast. I've seen a few of episodes previously, so it's a great being a part of this podcast series.
No,
Thank you.
thanks, Pawan. And I think the topic, something which we are discussing, is something you and I have discussed offline in the past, that why pharma marketing has to look beyond the traditional ecosystem, which all of us have grown with, in today's world where they have to engage with multiple stakeholders, and every stakeholder is consuming information in so many various places. And if we need to really build the trust and ensure we are able to educate, it's important for them to look into and kind of a public relations digital getting added on to their weaponry to ensure they're able to engage with them. So how do you think the whole digital, the new artificial intelligence, the whole technology bit is shaking up the marketing scene, and what exciting opportunities do you see it brings for pharma marketing?
Okay. Uh, Quite a broad question. Let me try rephrase it in a way. Now look at 30, 40 years back, though, in pharma industry, or even correlate that. I always love to correlate this historical stuff with, the capitalist and communist political situation in the world. There was Russia, there was America, there was no other country. Uh, it's quite similar was with the pharma industry as well, and many big companies, a few big companies were doing. But over a period of time, if you see, unlike this capitalist or earlier stage, which I feel many small things have come. Many small, big. Instead of too big fighting, many you have to fight many small good things. So
Mm-hmm.
many have derived their own niche into certain categories. There are, if you see, lakhs of brands today in pharma. Earlier, a few companies were dominating. Today, as well, they are dominating. But in certain niche segments, if you go therapy-wise and all, there are many other smaller companies who have done, exceedingly well than even the best companies. So today, the fight is not between two big things. It is fight between too many small things. So that niche category, even if you take in terms of digital, even if you take in terms of apps or AI or anything, there is no one big thing. There are many small things. So this is prevailing even in pharma. But however, I remember one of my ad guru telling he was long back before in advertising and now he's retired. He was telling when he was a brand manager of in pharma before going to into advertising, and now he comes back. Nothing has changed from that 40 years and now. So the change has been happening in digital front in many of the fronts in terms of behavioral aspect. Secondly, when you talk in terms of digital, whether pharma does it or no, people are getting digitally. You know, you remember maybe 10, 15 years or 20 years back in the resume, we used to write, computer literacy, I know Word,
Yeah,
MS, Excel, and
MS
PowerPoint.
Office.
Today, we don't write it. It is, default.
Given.
You have to know it. So the same way, whether pharma teaches or no, your Facebook, your other, digital media. So people are evolving in those segments. So the same thing will be the, what you call uh, 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 a comparative experience. Now, if you go to a particular hotel and go to a second hotel, you will naturally compare. The same thing will happen. So basically, if one bottom line, if I tell, uh, digital doesn't need pharma, but pharma needs digital. And the sooner the better, because when we talk about web one, 3.0, pharma is still not even caught up with web one. So that is the situation right now.
No, Pawan, I think you really brought, 3 points which are very, very important for anybody who's not part of the pharma ecosystem understand. One is the segmentation of our industry per se. The maximum, market share, the biggest one has below 10%. Nobody has double digit in terms of a market share, therefore, and it shows the level of competitiveness which exists. And that we're talking about in a bigger space, but as you rightly mentioned, if you come to the therapy space and within the therapy on a specific kind of a molecular category per se, you will find a lot of people really taking an ownership and taking a leadership of that part of it. So I think that's very important for anybody who does not know pharma ecosystem, that it's a very, very complex and a very, very dynamic and a very competitive market where everybody is like really fighting for. And also, therefore, as you rightly said, it's not about doing few large things. You have to really be present across the ecosystem for you to engage with your stakeholders, because the audience in this case, the HCP community who we discuss and talk to, they are also spread across the country. So it's very important for us to ensure that we are engaging with them and engaging with them at multiple levels. The old traditional aspect of detailing and e-detailing, as we used to call, was the big move to the CMEs. But then how are you really engaging with them kind of in other aspects, really, to educate them? Are you sort of providing content which is digitally first available to them when they need it? It's not about when we would like to give them, it's per as their needs, as well as other stakeholders, whether it's your patients, it's caregivers. Everybody needs to be sort of engaged with our payers and the policy makers. I think that's a part. And I think the big opportunity, therefore, for the pharma industry is that whether you like it or not, digital has to be the way where you need to go, because if you won't go that way, somebody else will take that opportunity. And therefore, that's something which needs to kind of happen. So, therefore, just looking at from that side, and we know there are companies which are doing really very well in terms of leveraging the power of social and digital and so on and so forth. So, what are the kind of challenges, being into the industry? What is this challenge, or this is the how do you say, the whole inertia not to change and not to adapt the newer technology? Why is this thing happening in the pharma industry, that why they're not really sort of getting up ahead on the tech space?
Okay. Uh, my favorite line, I have been always ridiculed for quoting this. What I feel talking to people and my colleagues or my earlier students or so many friends in the industry. Uh, what my one-line conclusion always have been, I have written and repeated multiple times. The digital savvy people in the companies are not decision makers, and the
Hmm.
decision makers in the company don't have any clue what is happening in the digital, because they are worried about the month-end billing. And obviously they should be, because nowhere in the world that pharmaceutical is a marketing driven completely. It is always sales driven. It's always either patient driven. So now the element of patient cohesiveness has come, because people are watching. Now that is where the element of PR and all will come, but that I can discuss it later. But the element in challenging the status quo, in the traditional model and the new model. I'm not advocating that digital will replace everything or digital has to be, everywhere or anything. It is like your morning breakfast in a five-star hotel.
Hmm.
Huge platter. That is
Yeah.
digital. No, you can't have everything. You know what you want. You want continental, you want basic fruits, or you want just a bread jam or something. I mean, XYZ. Your plate is small. Now, as a pharma company, you need to know, or I need to know what is my plate size and what I want, what is my appetite and what I want to do. So that is how digital is. Digital is too vast. No one company can do everything about digital, right? And I was speaking to somebody yesterday. I mean, on AI. I was just joking, saying that you learn about AI today, and tomorrow morning something new comes. So whatever you have
Yes.
learned yesterday, it goes off. It
Yeah.
is not even valid. So overall challenges, which I feel, I mean, coming to your precise question, what are the challenges in digital stuff? One is breaking from the routine, right? The traditional pharma is human based, one-to-one based. This thing that will remain. You know, I always say it will not replace, but till the time patients physically go to the doctor, medical reps will also go. So the day patients stop going to the doctor and they start going digitally, that day will be the complete digital. So that is one aspect. Second, in terms of adaptability in terms, look, I see it this way. It's very easy to adopt. One, understand what is the digital belt, what is the continuum of digital. Second, go by your therapy, one,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
go by your patient disease journey or the doctor's disease journey.
Hmm.
Sorry, the doctor's decision journey. So if you map these and you keep your physical touch point, you keep your regular traditional way mode of communication, and think what digitally you can touch point with these doctors or patient. It can be beyond the pill initiatives, it can be doctors skill development or anything which ultimately doctors are also humans, where
Exactly.
they also love to share a joke, they also love to discuss multiple topics and so many things. So see their journey of behavior, whether it's a medicine journey or their digital journey. There will be some touch points where pharma can understand. So, but pharma specifically don't have that, you know, allied department to understand this journey. All is depending on this, what do you call, the same old marketing team and all. And they try to decipher whatever little time they have on these things. Uh, so ultimately, it is like there's something called as I know syndrome in we all know, which is very bad. But in pharma, I always say pharma has one syndrome which is called as only I know everything syndrome. So they don't want any digital experts coming in and ये हमको पता है, ये हमारा doctor नहीं करेगा and all. So these things are the challenges. But yes, but digital, even 10 to 25% of your budgets, or like unlike this FMCG and other companies who invest. I think if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong, it's around 20 to 22% of ad budgets are in digital, this thing, including that part of PR, because PR is
Hmm.
now a lot overlapping with
More.
digital aspects.
Yes.
So 20 to 25% in the range, if they try to invest in a very smart way. Don't do everything. What is your objective? What is a journey where you are pinpointing? So that is what is only required.
No, I think I think this was really important because in our journey as a pharma specialist marketing and communication agency, in the last 3 years, we have done at least three big projects. Where the stage one. So this was two medical devices company, one big pharma company. The
Yeah.
stage which they wanted us to start with what they called a discovery stage. As in discovery stage, as you rightly mentioned, they said, tell us what does my patient journey looks like from identifying the problem. So in terms of where does the diagnosis happen, from diagnosis to where does the person go for early stage of seeking the consultation, to the overarching journey to the point when the person is on treatment getting well. So I want to sort of see the whole journey. And then when you see the journey, where do they consume the information from, which will help them define? Because I think one thing which we all know, and it's not just our industry or any other, people are becoming more informed and they want to be informed about and want decision making to be in their hand. They do not want to be just saying, I will take whatever my HCP will say. They will listen, but they would go back and research, talk to before they will sort of agree. And similarly, the conversation which we did with the medical devices, and it was a huge research working across almost 10 markets in Asia Pacific, including complex market like Japan and Australia. Where does the HCP like to get information from a medical devices or a pharma company? What are their preferred mode? Because right now, the doctors are willing to entertain a sales team to come and meet, but we know in the future, the time on their calendar is getting shorter and shorter. And now let me also add the public relations part of it, right? Because digital is one side of the channel strategy, but then public relations, the whether it is into traditional media or the digital PR, how do you see the pharma marketeers, adapting the public relations as a part of their ecosystem? Is there something which you've seen as a good work which has been done? And again, we don't need to name the companies, but in the space where they sort of, said, okay, this aspect of marketing was done very well in a public relations.
Again, a very broad question in terms of digital. To touch upon the first part, the journey. If you asked about the journey in terms, every brand manager or every marketer has to have a journey.
Yeah.
Understand the journey of the customer, whether you are in FMCG or anything. I mean, today I'm going to buy a mobile. What will I do? My journey starts with, looking at the papers, talking to somebody who has a, similar kind of phone, or talking to somebody. Then I'll go to some showroom or this thing. And then if I have the budget, I'll go for a higher budget. And then if I don't have the budget, then EMIs, whole from buying process till end, there is a journey. Similarly, cough and cold also has a journey. Maybe 3-4 days. It starts with some sneezing and this thing, redness, and then a little bit fever or without fever. So that is a the fishbone map that you can make on that. Maybe a disease like cardiology, cardiovascular diseases will be longer, unlike a disease for this thing. For every disease, every stuff, you have a mapping of a journey. So
Yeah.
that a marketer needs to know. That is a beauty, and and every stage the behavior has changed. I've started an app by name JT Next for my company, and
Yes.
one of the most trending session on that is by one of Dr. Amrit, how to handle Google patients. And he's a doctor, and we thought of this thing. So I wanted some quirky topics, which not typical medical, but it has medical and non-medical. But non-medical topics are interesting. And one of the trending topic is how to handle problem patients, how to handle Google patients.
Hmm.
You know what, like you said, they go back and they check and they question the doctor and everything. You question the doctor, nothing wrong, but don't go by Google. Google is not
Hmm.
done MBBS and MD or whatever
Yeah.
doctor is
Yeah.
done. It's just a bulk of load. It's just an algorithm, or what we call as LLM, large language model. Based on that, it gives the output, and AI is also the same. So whatever amount of input, even one full stop is changed in the same query, your answers are different. So basically, if marketer starts to understand the journey, And every point of time, then the comes is Google indexing your content. Whatever
Yeah.
content you do, that is one. Say like you have a brand, XYZ brand, which has, you have understood the journeys of 1 month, and this is a short term, and then during this month of rehabilitation or recovery or this thing, patients do. So which are those keywords they will search? So you put
Hmm.
that keywords related article or content or, a simple like YouTube search में जैसे हम keywords मांगता है, so that if
Hmm.
somebody search this video should come up. So those keywords are very important, and mainly your content being what do you call it? Google indexed, because
Yeah.
Google gives out the output of your search based on their own indexing. So they give the first priority. Now, I have done landing pages for 10,000 rupees, and they are trending 2,000, 3,000 hits
Yeah.
per month without investing, because it is on a Google registered site. I've heard from my agency friends wherein certain companies are paying 10 to 12 lakhs to make a silly, foolish looking web page, and is not even trending with
Hmm.
hardly 10 views, 12 views on this thing, because the domain where you use digitally, that has to be Google indexed. If it is not, if you are doing a web page on your company website, the Google knows that it is a commercial domain, so it will not
Yes.
show. So Google gives
Yeah.
a neutral domains which are registered with that. So these small, nuances, understanding are required by the pharma brand managers, which many of them, they don't understand. Even for simple email marketing and WhatsApp burst, there is something called as warming up, which many people don't know. You can't
Hmm.
just suddenly, I have 1 lakh doctor data, I'll fire an email. No, it will not happen. It will go
Right.
into a spam, or, the server will blacklist your email ID. So there is something called as a warm up. So
Yeah.
many of these small nuances are there, which I think pharma is yet to understand, because they have not gone into, and they are traditionally into same. Today a brand launch happens. So yes, how many meetings? 28, 30 meetings across the country. Book the hotel, call the other, training manual, one product monograph, one visual aid, LBL and samples. That's it.
Hmm.
And some silly inputs of some nature, which doctor even is not bothered. And what is the next quarter? Visit one, visit two, visit one, visit three, visit four. These are the plans. This used to be 20, 25 years back, would have been sensible. Look, today, as I told, I correlate, there are too many people, there are too many good small things. You have to fight, you have to differentiate in a very small, subtle way. And doctors are, even for that matter, as humans, we don't have time to register all these things. So what is that one tweak which can, change the direction? Today, you are changing 1 degree, 1 year later, it will be a huge change, in that direction. Now, you asked about similar thing in terms of PR. Now, PR, if I correlate to the example which I was trying to give in terms of brand launch,
Yeah.
absolutely, I doubt how many pharma CEOs or even vice president or BU heads are media trained.
Hmm.
Media training is always, I think we have been discussing this
Yes.
since
And
long.
we'll
I was,
definitely have that
yeah,
as a separate
I
session
was
altogether.
fortunate to have friends like you or some journalist and all. They always tell, they trained me in this, how the news works, what is the time, what is a, what kind of news sells, not sells, what should be told, what should not talk. You know, Based on that, I was like 3 4 years back, very well trained in media, so I know now that experience, that learning I even use with my other colleagues also. It
Hmm.
works wonders, how to, what to tell, what not to tell, and all. So
Hmm.
I doubt any of these uh, VPs, GMs, or even brand managers, forget, even so many of the companies, pharma CEOs are not media trained. Now, once that media training is done, and to understand what is, how it works, and then comes, I correlate that to the launch. I'll tell you,
Hmm.
there are many examples in international market. There was one brand of anti-resorptive agent which was to be launched in some country. I don't want to name the brand. It was for osteoporosis, and they knew this brand was a new in category. It was a big MNC, and it was totally new to the medical fraternity also. It was new discovery, and I mean, I'm talking about 25, 30 years back, or even more. Then they realized the moment they launch it, it will not happen. It will not pick up. So they waited for, I think, 1 or 2 years. And जो ये anti-resorptive agent का जो checking point है, so I'm talking about BMD T-score. The best one is BMD T-score is there is a machine, DEXA machine, which comes. It is like just similar to the X-ray, wherein DEXA machine is the ultimate one. So sonography-based BMD testing is not compliant, or it's not accurate, but DEXA is considered for a better T-score. So what happened is this T-score machine was the ultimate one. That is the ultimate answer. So what this company did, they stopped the launch. This was what I had read somewhere, but a very brilliant game. They bought over this company of this, though they were not that into that business of diagnostic or machine, any testing machines and all. This was a pure pharma company who was having one anti-resorptive agency. They bought this DEXA machine company. For 1.5, 2 years, they built a narrative around the importance of BMD DEXA. They didn't speak about anything about new drug or anything. They just built a narrative story for 1.5, 2 years of this BMD and importance of DEXA. Right? Then they launched this. So the same thing today, two things which I always even tell my friends or students or colleagues or whoever, whenever you are doing a brand plan, two elements you add apart from your visual aid, sampling, blah, blah, blah stuffs, which are routine. Two things you add. One, pre-launch, what is the narrative you can build? Even if it is Me Too, you can build still. Don't tell me that we are a Me Too brand and the 10th brand, and there's nothing called as Me Too. Second, what is the kind of digital, touch points? You need not invest heavy amount, and you need not have your medical reps or your field managers and all. This is in your hand. So before launch, normally it used to be the launch typical start from January, February, whatever example. But can we start a narrative on building up Google indexing, Google content, keywords indexing based on this therapy towards your brand? So if anything related to your therapy or any keywords like disease, symptoms, anything, does your brand or does your molecule show up in Google? So that happens. So that sitting in somewhere in Assam, Guwahati, or even Nagaland, if some doctor is typing the molecule, does your brand show up in Google search? So that is called indexing. So that has to be prepared. And that doesn't take much time. Just
if you know the
need a
technicalities.
consistent efforts of the same keyword, similar this thing, Google index websites and Google outcomes. So because understand why I'm telling this is, you may have agenda to push your ideas through the doctor's throat, but doctor's behavior is different. As a human, he is behaving same like what you behave on your mobile or your Google watching reel or Facebook or Instagram, whatever. So put that into perspective. So then you bring into PR. So today digital and PR, as I was telling, it is amalgamated. Earlier you put traditional days. I remember in my school days in my hometown, there was no email and all, and there was a newspaper called as Sanyukta Karnataka, and there used to be the box outside the office, whether the office is closed or anything, at the security guard, that box used to be. So whatever press release you want to say, you just have to put it inside. Keep it inside, and then it goes the next day or maybe the other day, day after, somewhere in the corner, it used to feature. So that was how. Today it is not like, things happen and it is happening and you are getting a live coverage. So understand that is a power, that is not a negative this thing. Use this as, so my always question is, are you finding a solution, or are you searching for a problem? That is where, so your brand, even if it is pharma, you need not speak about your medicine being in regulatory issues and all. Respect that. I completely respect. But there's a narrative around where you can give patients a content where they can, allied improvements or allied functions around that brand to build a base for that brand, then launch it. So that when you launch and doctor by chance searches for your molecular brand name, he should have that on Google. So this is how the planning now needs to change. So your brand plan should have digital and PR element. And many of my pharma listeners might negate or might ridicule me कि ये possible नहीं है. Possible है. I've done it personally in multiple brands, and you can do it. There is a fine space where you can bring it and push it out in this thing, even if it is a 50th brand you're launching. It's still, you can make up in Google, because I had many brands which were not in number one position back then. But when you search a molecule, even the number one brand used to be in the second page of Google, and my brand used to show on the first 5, 10 searches in the first page itself. So for Google, I made it number one. So imagine what my doctors would, have a perception that he had searched a molecule and this brand came up. So you'll not go to your market data to see which is the number one and number two brand. So that is the impression you are creating. So
No, I think, Pawan, this is a really, I think, thanks for this insight. I think, specifically what you talked about market shaping, even before you do the market launch part of it, I think that is something which very few pharma marketers understand. For them, it's like, I've got a molecule I need to launch. But sometimes the market has to be shaped, a narrative has to be built, and then you sort of come and talk, bring in your solution per se. And I think the other aspect which you talk, saying it's not about, whether I'm the 10th brand, I am a solution. So look at the problem which you're resolving, where are you resolving, and sort of build on the solution part of it. And I think if you are able to do those aspects, is something which is part of your success journey. Don't go with the same herd instinct that if it was happening in the
absolutely.
past, I need to do it again and don't need to change. Definitely, there's no way we can say that what was working, we have to let go of it in its totality. But yes, there are now needs to add the digital uh, public relations as a part of the overarching kind of a marketing strategy per se. But really, sort of, thanks a lot for your time on the stuff. Before we end, any last thing, as someone who has been on multiple places, and I read your articles in Brand Equity and other publication. I know quite a lot of our listeners will be also reading. But if you have to sort of say, last bit to say a farmer marketing, what will be your kind of a key insight or a key gyan to them to say, guys, time to do this?
Okay, I think somebody had mentioned, 1980s and all, when banks went for computerization. The bank employees went for a 2 days, 3 days strike to avoid computerization, just thinking that they will lose their job. But look at banking, what is now. The same way, whatever digital AI stuff is coming, at least in digital, pharma has remained laggard. We have been limited. But in AI stuff, everything is new. Everything is, now even ChatGPT 4 is old, and ChatGPT is just one of them. There are 20
Oh, yeah.
other LLM models, LLM apps, large language, and they have different formatable algorithms. So tomorrow
Yeah.
you might, there are softwares, or there are linkable to your Excel, your PowerPoint for your analysis, wherein it makes a marketer's job. I'm speaking in terms purely on the marketer's perspective, not for the CEO or any other functions. But as a marketer, you have a lot of data. There are so many models which you can write your own coding with these. integrate and add-ons on your Excel and PowerPoint and give a more sensible outcome for your insightful analysis. Use that. So what I'm trying to say is this is one just example. Uh, Unlike that bank example, don't try to go on the strike and we'll do the traditional old way. Because always people say, no, I mean, there is a good old saying, ChatGPT will not replace humans, but human who knows ChatGPT or AI will replace somebody who doesn't know. So that will happen. So learn everything, keep your mind open, experiment, fail, whatever you want to do. This is today's daily learning and daily unlearning. So that is what all about AI. So that is where I feel we should concentrate. Keep your mind open, keep experimenting, keep utilizing, and don't, my one line always, don't marinate in the mediocrity. Just try to come out with something new, weird. Think the many things which is possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Pawan. On that note, as we wrap up our enlightening discussion, I extend heartfelt thanks to Pawan Kulkarni for his invaluable insights and expertise. I think the impact of digital media and PR extends far beyond marketing. It shapes perceptions, influences decisions, and ultimately drives progress within the pharmaceutical industry. Pawan, your expertise has helped us to reflect on the importance of staying abreast of these evolving trends to ensure effective communication with stakeholders and consumers alike. Let us carry forward the learnings from this conversation and continue to explore innovative ways to navigate the digital landscape while maintaining authenticity and credibility. If you found this episode insightful, don't forget to follow us and www.spag.asia for engaging discussion on industry trends and innovations. Thank you for tuning in, and we eagerly anticipate bringing you more enriching discussions in the future.